What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we had a brand new video with the Bitcoin Bretton Woods basically going on. A major step for Bitcoin, something that could just lead into a lot more adoption and a lot more things taking off for Bitcoin, which is obviously good for Bitcoin itself, good for the price longer term, and just good for everyone longer term. Definitely something that takes a little bit more time to play out, but is seemingly going to be a good thing. And this is because of Bukele and El Salvador, these guys having meetings with 44 countries to talk about Bitcoin and plant the seeds of Bitcoin for these countries and like talking about what it can do, why it's good, why you should adopt it or do a legal tender, do something with Bitcoin. And obviously, that's a good thing for Bitcoin. So we can see right here, this is his tweet talking about it, saying planting seeds in 44 countries, 3 days to go. This was May 16th. So they're going to talk Bitcoin. Obviously, Bitcoin is good for the world. He says at the end here, I agree with that. We have the picture of just all these representatives and people from tons of countries coming together to talk Bitcoin. Seemingly, maybe the Bitcoin Bretton Woods coming to an agreement with Bitcoin pushing around the world, a world reserve. Things are limitless with what can go on, but ultimately, it's a good sign to see countries talking about it, wanting to talk about it, wanting to do all of this. So the interest still there, even though the price action hasn't necessarily been the best. We can see he tweets out a list of like everyone that's there, 32 central banks and 12 financial authorities, and this is just a bunch of them here. Listing out all of them that are going to be there. So just tons of countries, tons of adoption, tons of want for this to go through, and just Bitcoin moving forward despite the negative price move, despite all of the drama in crypto. Bitcoin continues to move forward, continues to do whatever it wants, and just adoption moves forward. Fundamentals keep growing and doing better over time. So if you're fixated only on the price, then you could run into a massive problem where eventually technicals don't really matter if fundamentals get super strong, and we all know fundamentals take over long term. But speaking of technicals, we can look at some lines on the Bitcoin chart and just seeing random lines on the chart. That's obvious. That's what any technical thing is, random lines and seeing if they interact. And we can see every single time we've come down to this bottom line here. This zooms all the way out to 2013 with these lines are drawn on here. So extreme long time frame on this. And we can just see every time we kind of hit this bottom, run up. This is the top and run back down, the bottom, gradually go back up. Or usually, if we look back into these times, it would be the kind of bear market signaling the bottom and just kind of capitulation along here. And then eventually the next halving and a big run up to this top line, falling back down. This is still the bottom line here. Had a little bit of run up into the middle, running back down. This is a 2020 crash. So a little bit of an outlier event, but still breaking the line, but it's hovering around here. Capitulation, running up. We didn't actually get up to the top line for this cycle, but we got up to the middle here, hovered, and then came down. Almost got back to the middle, and now we're down to this line yet again. So is this going to mark the bottom of the bear market or the bottom of this drop, and maybe see some capitulation here along here, kind of moving up, and then the next halving 2024 we see this massive move up yet again. Very easily possible to see that happening. I think we've talked about it before. The price of Bitcoin, we're probably going to capitulate for a little bit here between 28K and 33K, kind of swinging up and down around there, unless macro things just magically get insanely better and everything in the market, in stocks and crypto in the world, just get to a point where people are all right with it, or things are a lot better. No one has as much fear as they do right now. So time will tell what happens there, but most likely we're going to be looking to ride this line up a little bit. And then obviously the next halving is 2024. So 2 years, less than 2 years to go until the next halving for Bitcoin, which every single halving we have, we see a move up in price. And just for the history of Bitcoin, we have 12 years ago today, a guy paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas. A legendary story in Bitcoin where people actually use Bitcoin to buy something. It was like some of the early times of buying things with Bitcoin. But looking back, obviously, he probably wishes that he would have kept those Bitcoin. But it ushered in the utility for Bitcoin. You could use it to buy things if you really wanted to. And you can see today 10,000 Bitcoin would be worth $294 million. Uh, just crazy to see that. You spent on 2 pizzas, and when you could add almost $300 million, that is crazy numbers. It would be very hard to look back on that and know if you had 10,000 Bitcoin and you spent on pizzas. It'd be pretty difficult to look back at it, but one of the first transactions for Bitcoin to ever go through. A big step for Bitcoin to show you could actually buy things with it, and utility was there. So it was good. It was good for overall for Bitcoin. Bad for maybe this guy individually, but it was good for overall with everything with Bitcoin. And another massive thing we have here is longs on Bitcoin have exploded to ridiculous levels. 84,000, almost 85,000 longs on Bitcoin. The shorts are relatively high, usually a little under 1,000 here, so almost 3,000 for shorts, but 84,000, 85,000 long, ridiculously long. If we zoom out, we can see the massive move in longs right here from when it was 41K and just this massive move up to 84, 85K. The vast majority of these were on Bitfinex. The Bitfinex whales longed insane amounts at like 29, 28K Bitcoin. So maybe they are expecting something that a lot of other people aren't, a bigger move up in price. Very easily could see that happening. And Bitfinex whales, when they bet on stuff, usually they're kind of right. So maybe they'll be right this time. And a big move up in price for Bitcoin is just around the corner. You do got to think for Bitcoin, it's the first time ever that there was like 7 weeks of red candles. So how much lower can it go? How much more reward is there in shorting Bitcoin? If it's the first time ever that it's had 7 red weekly candles, is there more risk than reward in shorting? If there is, then there would be more reward than risk in longing. And maybe we could see a big price move off of that. That might be what they're thinking, or maybe they have some sort of insider knowledge of something going on. Who knows? And just for the fundamentals of Bitcoin, I think this is massive to keep in mind the hash rate, which is just up and to the right. We see we're getting rid of this period for a year period where the China ban happened and this moved down in hash rate to 84 million. And then just up and to the right, basically for the past year. And we're at 223 million for the weekly average here. You zoom out more, 30-day, you can see it's just kind of up and to the right. This is a steep incline here, so looking good. A lot of the network growing. The fundamentals of Bitcoin are growing. It's looking good. Even raw values did actually hit another new all-time high, 254. This last one was 248. So another new all-time high in the hash rate. So everything moving forward, the adoption's growing, the network's growing, it's getting more secure. It's just fundamentally things are good for Bitcoin. The price just isn't too good because of macro things going on. The world's not in the best spot. The economy is not in the best spot. The stock market's not in the best spot. We could be in a recession already. So all of this is obviously going to impact the price of Bitcoin. But when you dig deeper into the fundamentals, adoption's moving forward with the Bitcoin Bretton Woods, basically the 44 countries gathering. The hash rate is continuing to grow. The network's continuing to grow. The security is still growing. Just everything fundamentally with Bitcoin is looking good. And talking about mining and the hash rate, despite China's ban, they are now back to the second largest Bitcoin mining hub. They have 21.1% of total global mining hash rate. So they're probably getting ready to ramp this up into another fudge cycle of China bans Bitcoin for the 137,000th time, kicking out all the miners and getting all of this going again. So weird that they banned mining, yet mining continued. It came back. Obviously, there was a drop in the hash rate. China completely got rid of all of their hash rate, and then all of a sudden it's back. So the question one is, are they just preparing for trying to fudge cycle again, to ban everything again? Or are these state-owned, government-owned mining facilities where the government is mining Bitcoin? Just don't really know what's going on here. So be interesting to see if they ban Bitcoin. If they do, then obviously we know this is probably not government-owned hash rate. But if they don't, then it's probably the Chinese government mining Bitcoin, which could kick off a whole nother thing with a lot of countries where if the Chinese government's mining Bitcoin, then the US government might be forced to get into mining Bitcoin, and European countries might be forced to mining into Bitcoin and trying to get into this competition to make sure that one country doesn't get super powerful off of mining Bitcoin. So all in all, Bitcoin doesn't look too bad. The price action, not in the best spot, but that goes along with everything in the market. So stocks too, not in the greatest spot. The economy, not in the greatest spot. So it makes sense for that. But fundamentally, doing great. The hash rate continuing to grow, adoption continuing to move forward, everything just kind of going along the way, and then the price eventually will catch up with everything that's happening. Happens all the time. Happens in any asset, really, no matter it's Bitcoin or stocks or anything. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in my next video.